the stronger our Indiana workforce is in the motorsports industry, the better, because that allows us to track more investment and more job opportunities to the state. If you're a motorsports company in the UK or California or North Carolina or anywhere else in the world, and you know that Indiana has a superior workforce, this is a logical place to be. We have a lot of other competitive advantages, which are, a lower cost of doing business. The geographical location is fantastic for every racing series in the states, but our workforce is really one of the things that differentiates us in other states, and people are moving here all the time just because of the strengths that we have. So building upon that with a new academic program at many of these schools is very exciting. From the first time I met Pete, because we met with a group of students who were interested in putting together a program, and Pete had just been talking with the dean about starting something up like this. And what was great was you have a professor that actually has an interest and experience in racing himself. Pete understands the industry and I think is willing to do what's needed at the university level, and that's really reach out to industry to identify the specific curriculum changes and additions that need to be made to make the opportunities at IUPUI as valuable as possible.
We have added new classes to the curriculum covering the basics of the motorsports industry, competition engines, vehicle dynamics, and motorsports data acquisition. We have combined those with a number of fundamental engineering technology classes to create a motorsports technology certificate. And we are seriously investigating expanding that certificate to a full bachelor's degree program in motorsports studies.
You can actually get an education now in motorsports, and you can have a career. But if interest is all you have, you probably will not succeed because you have to be passionate about it. If you're going to work in motorsports, you're going to work hard, you're going to work long hours, you're going to have a very fluid way of thinking. It is not structured, it is not rigid. It is not a black and white. It isn't where you go to work at certain times of the day always and you leave at certain times of the day. You're going to have to work 24/7. I don't care whether you're a mechanic, whether you're a crew member, or whether you're in the business and the operations end of it. If you are not passionate about it, then I suggest you find something else to become passionate about, or become passionate about it, because otherwise you will not succeed.
We have also developed a number of motorsports-related projects, not the least of which is the car which many of you have been looking at this morning at the back of the room. That car helped IUPUI reach another milestone 2 weekends ago when it entered its first full-fledged racing competition at the Sports Car Club of America's Spring Sprint at O'Reilly Raceway Park.
This was not one of my first finishes, but in this new car it was very exciting because we didn't quite know what it was going to do. So to have an actual finish and for it to be first place was absolutely amazing. We have solo events where you just go out there and race around cones, and your best time is your score. It's quite fun to drive. I didn't really know how it would handle for the first time, but it turns the corners really well and takes things very nicely, so I can drift out a little bit and take things faster.
I'm definitely pleased to see that females are now realizing that this is an arena that they can compete in, that they can participate in, and whether it's from a driving standpoint or even just in the workforce at all. It's actually it's interesting. There's certain industries that have had stigmas of being male-dominated or female-dominated, and then the crossover is if you're not a female or a male and you want to go into that industry, it's like, well, can I do that? And I think now we're realizing that it's a white sheet of paper, that industries are now open to both genders, and certainly motorsports is open to females.
The car you see was completely designed and built by IUPUI engineering technology students. It carries a graphics scheme, quite attractive in my opinion, which was designed by an IUPUI interior design major. While the car was on the track, there was an IUPUI English major giving signals to the driver from the pits. And that driver was a nationally licensed SCCA competition driver who just happens to be an IUPUI organizational leadership major. This race effort, as you can see, is virtually entirely comprised of IUPUI students. And when it took to the track last week, it was a student-driven effort that had put that car on the track. The result, I'm proud to say, was a first-place finish. But it was a win not just because the car came home with a first-place trophy. It was a win for IUPUI because it shows that our motorsports program is capable of attracting students to a motorsports studies initiative.
Well, I mean, heck, we've been making cars here for what, 100 years, and ever since the first car was made, it seems like someone figured out, hey, how do we make this go faster? And then once there were two, how do we race them? And in Indiana, we have a rich automobile manufacturing heritage, and although that has left us years ago, we still have a racing heritage. And like I said, when you travel around the world or in other parts of the country, people know Indiana for motorsports, and we're excited about that. We need to capitalize on that and use our strength to our advantage.